Episode 4, Cyrus and Babylon, the conquest that became a new order. Babylon was not just another city, it was one of the great centers of the ancient world, a city of memory, power, religion, wealth, and political imagination. Long before Cyrus entered its gates, Babylon had already become a symbol of civilization itself. For centuries, kings had looked toward Babylon with ambition. To control Babylon was not only to control a city, it was to touch one of the deepest sources of legitimacy in the ancient Near East. But Babylon was also difficult to hold. It had been attacked, conquered, challenged, and contested many times. Its people had seen kings rise and fall. Its temples, walls, rituals, and traditions carried a weight that no foreign ruler could simply ignore. This is why Babylon mattered so much in the story of Cyrus. By the time Cyrus turned toward Babylon, he had already transformed a political map. The Median order had been absorbed and redirected. Lydia had fallen into the Persian sphere. The eastern lands had strengthened the depth of Persian power. But Babylon was different. Babylon was not only another step in expansion, it was a test. Could Cyrus conquer one of the oldest and most prestigious cities of the ancient world without destroying the world that gave that city its meaning? Could Persian power move beyond victory and become a system capable of ruling ancient civilizations? This was the deeper question. Because any king could take a city by force, at least for a moment. But to keep Babylon, to make it part of a larger order, and to transform conquest into continuity, that required something more. Cyrus was now facing not only a kingdom, but a civilization with its own memory, its own sacred language, and its own idea of legitimate rule. And this is where the meaning of his conquest begins to change. In the ancient world, power was never only military. A king needed armies, but armies were not enough. He needed recognition, he needed order, he needed a way to make his rule understandable to the people he governed. In Babylon, this was especially important. The city had its own religious traditions, its own priestly institutions, and its own ancient political culture. A ruler who entered Babylon as a destroyer could win a battle and still lose the city. He could stand in the palace and still fail to be accepted as king. Cyrus seems to have understood this problem deeply. His achievement was not only that he moved toward Babylon, it was that he approached Babylon as a political and symbolic center. He understood that the city could not be treated like a simple prize. It had to be integrated into a wider order. This is what separates Cyrus from many earlier conquerors. For him, conquest was not the end of politics. It was the beginning of a new political arrangement. Babylon had to remain Babylon. Its identity, prestige, and internal structure could not simply be erased. If Persian power wanted to become world power, it had to learn how to contain older worlds inside itself. That was the real challenge. Cyrus did not need only to defeat Babylon. He needed to make Babylon part of his system. This meant that victory had to be followed by stability. Authority had to be presented not as collapse, but as restoration. Power had to appear not as random domination, but as a new order capable capable of protecting what already existed. This is why the conquest of Babylon became one of the defining moments in the rise of the Persian Empire. It showed that Cyrus was not merely expanding across land, he was learning how to rule difference. When Cyrus entered Babylon, the ancient world changed. The city that had resisted so many changes of power now became part of a larger imperial structure. But the importance of this moment does not come only from the fact that Babylon was taken. It comes from what happened after. Babylon was not reduced to a ruined trophy. It was not treated only as the defeated possession of a foreign king. Instead, it became one of the great centers of the new imperial world. This was a different kind of conquest. Cyrus entered a city that carried immense symbolic weight, and he allowed that weight to continue. Babylon's importance did not disappear under Persian rule. It was redirected into a larger political system. In this sense, the conquest of Babylon was not only an ending, it was also a beginning. It marked the point where Persian power fully stepped into the inheritance of the ancient Near East. The empire of Cyrus was no longer only an Iranian power, or a power expanding across regions. It now stood at the center of the oldest civilizations of Western Asia. This gave the Persian Empire a new kind of authority. It could now claim not only land and armies, but continuity with the great political and cultural traditions that had existed before it. And yet, the method mattered. If Babylon had been destroyed, it would have been a victory of force. But because Babylon continued, the victory became something larger. It became a demonstration of imperial intelligence. Cyrus showed that power could be strongest when it did not erase everything before it. A city could be conquered, but still remain meaningful. A people could be brought into a larger order without being reduced to silence. An old world could survive while becoming part of something new. This was the political genius of the moment. After Babylon, the meaning of Cyrus's rule changed. He was no longer only the ruler who had shifted power from Media to Persia. He was no longer only the king who had defeated Lydia or expanded toward the east. He had become the ruler of a world system. Babylon gave the Persian Empire a new center, a new prestige, and a new connection to the deepest political traditions of the ancient Near East. Through Babylon, Cyrus inherited not only a city, but a long memory of kingship, law, ritual, and civilization. This is why the conquest of Babylon stands at the heart of his story. It shows the difference between conquest and empire. Conquest can be temporary. It can be violent, unstable, and brief. But empire requires structure. It requires the ability to hold many peoples, many traditions, many languages, and many older forms of authority inside one political frame. Cyrus's success was that he turned expansion into order. He did not create unity by making everything the same. He created a system in which difference could exist under a wider imperial structure. That is why Babylon became so important after its conquest. It was not merely the defeated city of an enemy. It became a central part of the new world Cyrus was building. The old balance of power had now disappeared. Media had changed. Lydia had fallen. The eastern lands had been drawn into a broader structure. And now Babylon, one of the greatest cities of the ancient world, stood within the Persian imperial order. The world before Cyrus was gone. A new world had appeared. But this new world was not held together only by armies. It needed meaning. It needed legitimacy. It needed stories, symbols, and sacred language. And this brings us to the next part of Cyrus's legacy. Because after Babylon, Cyrus was not remembered only as a conqueror. He was remembered as something more. A chosen ruler, a restorer, a figure who could be understood through the sacred languages of different peoples. And that is where the next episode begins.